Hey everybody, welcome to week 7 live Q&A. This is the Advanced Permaculture Student Online. I'm Matt Powers. You've made it. You made it to the live. I'm going to turn off the heater back here so it's not so loud. You can see there's seeds there on top of it. That's the best place for it, finish drying down those seeds gently, right? You can put them in a dehydrator, but you also can put them above things that are warm. All right, we are all set. Our batteries are looking good. I've already sent the link over to the group, so they should all be coming in here. I see people showing up. Wonderful. I've got your questions here. And when I'm finished with the questions here, I'll go back and check out the chat. So feel free. Things occur to you, new ideas come to you. There's actually not that many questions this week, so I've got some things I wanted to talk about. I'm been filming all day. Been refilming courses, actually. All right, more people are here. Wonderful. So I've got your questions here, so I'll start in on them, and then I'll get to what I wanted to share with you all. Whew. All right. Thank you for making time. Thank you for coming and visiting with us, joining the conversation, being part of our community, and providing questions so that we could dive deeper into these concepts. We could help you and possibly help other people who are having similar or the same issues. So some folks have said, they feel like this week has been like really straightforward. But some people feel like this is the week that they get really challenged, and then there's a lot of questions around slope. So number one, it's all good. My dog just went crazy. Number one, my average annual rainfall is 55. Go out. Go out. My dog is just doing something weird. He just keeps shaking himself every minute. My average annual rainfall. My dogs always do something weird when we're live. Isn't this the case? You're weird. Just relax. It'll be fine. You'll feel better in a moment. All right. So my average annual rainfall is 55 inches, but a couple of years ago, we got 99 inches. I'm having trouble concerning why I need some of the earthworks projects we have studied. This is an awesome example of what I fear, that people are going to feel like they need to do everything. Don't feel like you need to do everything at all. The ideas that I propose give you a spectrum, a whole bunch of different options to collect water, to soak water, to divert water, to infiltrate water, to pour water off, to dry out an area, to lift stuff above the water table. We want all these things to react to the water. So if you've got a lot of water, then I highly suggest setting up things so that you can actually direct that water away. Maybe it's permeable, maybe it's impermeable, depending on the situation where we're talking. But yeah, I would always try to really focus on responding to your rainfall strategically with earthworks, rather than it being the case of like we're always trying to do swales, and that leads to flooding. It leads to blown out swales. It leads to damage and loss and all this awful stuff that you don't want to do. That's like that's the number one issue that people have that get taught permaculture the wrong ways. They end up putting swales in climates and in climates and in precipitation areas that don't need them. So a swale, remember, is an earth berm and a place for soakage or a diversion drain that is actually just flat. So it doesn't divert it anywhere. It soaks it because it's just flat. So that earthwork, you know what I mean, is very specific. So I really want us to take this on board and to take it as just one of many gifts and to not see it as a must. I don't want you to see it as a must, please. So know that this is dynamic. Every site's going to be unique, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different things in here further on questions. They're going to demonstrate this concept further, how we can dynamically respond. So I just want to say that right off the bat. And also, number one, for me, I can't answer like a lot of questions if I can't see a topographic map. They're like, should I have a swale? And it's like, well, if you're talking about all this rainfall, it doesn't sound like you really quite want a swale, but you might. You might have a swale and then have the spillways off at the top, and it really depends on what's going on your site and how much water is going to be collected, and you got to run the numbers on everything. So I really want everyone to understand that. Well, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but there's a big difference between small scale and large scale. And I'll give more examples as we go through. But if you're just doing like a 2-acre garden and food forest, you can go out there and do the work. You don't need to have, the Google Earth and the whole thing and the map and the digital everything. It's like, that's really vital when you're dealing with 200 acres or 5,000 acres. That you can't do without the maps and the technology. You know what I mean? But that 2-acre garden, you and I can go out there in a day with an A-frame and just map the whole thing out with twine and stakes and a little hammer and go out there and just do it all together. And you and I would come away with a really good idea about what would work and what would not on that site. And we'd be able to show a really crystal clear map of what's going on. You could even set up a grid. I mean, yeah, it's really powerful. And not only that, if we set up a grid, if we measured it out, then you could even transfer it to Google Earth. So there's a lot here if you just go that by hand route. And then suddenly you're making a map and you've got it on a grid and you've got the measurements and you set them as points, and even if you don't go to digital side of it, you can still use a pencil and paper, and make a really powerful map. Really powerful. But I would say if you're going large scale, if you're going commercial, I would be paying. I mean, why wouldn't you pay for a good map to be made? It's just part, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, I wanted to do it as cheap as possible. And it's like, there's danger there. The reason so many people fail at things in their life and everything is they fail to invest. And that might be their time. That might be their full commitment. And that might be money at a critical moment. And so it's like, we've got to really be ready to invest if we want to progress. And that goes with a lot of things. So large scale, you might be investing in paying for topographic maps. You might be having the drones go over and doing the GPS thing and hiring an expert for a couple $100s to do that. And then you've got that map, and then you could use the ruler or the protractor or the protractor ruler. Where is that? That is over there. Oh, well, you've seen the video. Those things rule, the sliding, scrolling rulers. But yeah. I mean, you can do that. Everyone can do that once you have the map. And so it's really about getting that accurate map. And you can even do things with those inaccurate maps in a way that it'll work out. Like I talked about in the video, it almost doesn't matter what the actual slope is. If I set the guiding contour here in real life, then I can just go off of that. And it all will work out if we do the work. And then, like I said, you might have to pay, to do these things at a professional level. But that's just a part of doing business. It's like if you want to have this amazing like business, you might pay the money to do the SketchUp stuff for a temporary period of time so you can get those plans. Or you might hire someone else to do it or whatnot. So there's a lot of options there, and depending on what you're doing, those options could be the ones you choose. But it goes back to my original thing that I said though. Not everything is for everyone. I don't want you to feel like you're obligated. I don't want you to feel like you have to do X, Y, and Z if you want to do ABC. It really depends on your situation and what you feel called to do. That's why I provide so many options and so much spectrum, and I try to lead the depth right up into giving you a taste of what it's like to be, in depth in that niche. Like Peter McCoy's week with fungi, it's pretty clear that there's a lot more to fungi. It's pretty clear that there's a whole greater depth there, and that his courses are going to guide us through that and take us into that area. And you read his book and you're like, holy cow. I can tell you that in order to write something and understand it all the way, you need to understand a lot more about it in order to condense down to that. So his courses are going to have a lot more, and he's not one that doesn't study. So his stuff's going to be continuously expanding. So it's the same sort of thing. You know what I mean? Finding what works for you, finding the modalities. He's going to do that same thing where he's going to have all these different strategies and techniques and to fit the different people and fit their different circumstances. All right. No questions for now. Thank you. Time to all let this information process into reality. Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, getting a grip on computer-aided drafting has been and continues to be a challenge for me. I've tried off and on for years with unsatisfactory results. Well, then I would say take it off the computer and then use your hands and get creative that way. That really can work. Many people have done that, and that can work, especially if it's on the smaller scale. If it's on the large scale, you might need help doing that. You get someone to help you do that if this is your business. But if this is just a smaller project, 1-2 acres, homestead, you might not need to have it drafted out on a computer. Yeah. So understanding the dynamics of the earthworks and how they respond to water is the real linchpin here. Because when we're planning and looking at how much water is and then calculating it, it tells us really what we're going to see on average per year. And so this allows us to create a dynamic system that's storing as much water as possible, but shedding water that would otherwise be drowning our plants, be making our apples watery, just be slowing everything down, making mud, destroying soil life, causing mudslides, all the above. So, yeah, this next person says if earthworks they don't know if earthworks will be beneficial for their site. It's so flat, and I don't experience runoff during monsoons. We even soak up the giant puddle from the compacted area with the cows next door. If earthworks is useful here, then it would be in terms of wind, shade, and 100-year flood protection. When I find time to look at more with an A-frame, more may be revealed. So, Darren Doherty will talk about this, and you may see videos online about this, where he talks about how erosion forms and how the difference between swales and ripping. It's the same thing when we think about the difference between, bare earth and having just plants every little bit. If your place is covered with plants, the rain that hits is going to go follow that plant, go down, and then go right into the root zone right there, and it will infiltrate. And so there's this great ability for, and that's what Keyline's essentially doing. It's sending down these rips, intercepting the flow of water so that it can infiltrate much the way that a tree would intercept that water and send it down, following the root path. So all these things are really trying to imitate nature as much as possible. And if your site's already got great vegetation, great polycultures, and The soil is so rich that when it rains, it just soaks it up like a carpet. That is what we want. That's the ideal, and you rock. So yeah, I'd love to learn more about your site. Um, and yeah, that sounds awesome. It sounds like you've got great things going on. And like you say yourself, you need to go out and use the A-frame to see what more may be revealed. If I don't have a topographic map, I can't really give you any insight. And not just of your site, but the greater area of the site around. And so seeing the watershed, seeing the flow of water, understanding what those 100-year floods look like in your area, those kinds of things will give me more of an answer, and will give you definitely more of an answer, as you're the person who's there and can really see how this would play out on the ground. Um, and so, final question over here, but remember, I'm going to go over to the comments. So, add to the comments if you want a question to be answered. Please add to the questions, because this is what makes it good, All right. Have you ever made what Toby Hemingway calls an inverted hugelkultur, or deadwood swale? Digging a hole, burying a combination of dead wood, nitrogen-rich organic matter, and then planting garden on top. If so, did you find that certain crops grew better in those garden beds than others? So there's like a whole thing about this. So there's, as I mentioned in my book, as I usually mention when I teach about it, unless like you are inverting it like that and putting it like a hugelkultur in the ground, in certain climates, you're going to have those things rolling around down the hill. And where it's steep, I really like the idea of having like stumps or trees or something as like a fail safe, because there's been accidents that have happened with buried wood. So I would, I mean, the reality is, it's like, oh, what is nitrogen, right? Nitrogen is the reactant. So you would put the nitrogen onto the dead wood. So you put the manure with the wood, and then you would cover that to speed up the process and to really neutralize the process of it soaking up nitrogen, because that's right there. There you go, buddy. And so, yeah, you're asking if I found that certain crops grew better in those garden beds than others. Brassicas grew really well there, that I noticed, but they were kind of on the edge. And I think that was the case because they got hot and dried out in my region. I was in a hotter region, but I did have one swale that did well, with wood inside of it. It was on a flat area, so I felt like it was a good spot, and it made turkey tail sprouting out the side of it. That was cool. But yeah, I've kind of done everything in those kind of scenarios. So there was nightshades, there was C4 grasses, there was squash. Oh, that actually was the area where my apple tree was. My Kazakhstan apple tree was. So yeah, I've done a lot of things there, perennials, annuals. So yeah, it just seems great to me. I don't see, other than it drying out earlier and getting hotter faster, other than that, the difference between doing just a regular swale in my region of Central Valley, California. So yeah, I don't know if in that bioregion it would have been that great to keep doing that, and that's why I stopped doing them. But on the property Camp Singing Wind, where my friends live and run an Airbnb that is amazing. You stay at these A-frames that were part of an 70s girls camp. It's really cool. They've got an amazing lodge. This is where the Pacific Northwest Permaculture Convergence was this year, where Elaine Ingham was the keynote speaker. They're doing an entire hillside hugel, and it's massive. And it's like the whole hillside is wood. It's not like there's a section here, and then there's a section here, and then so there's no rolling. It's just like a hugel hillside. So that's epic. Um, and this is taking the modalities to the next like level, right? To improvisational levels. And that's really what we really need to do. This is why like I started adding kefir grains to like compost teas, you know what I mean? Improvisational levels where you're taking things that you know can work together in your climate and then tweaking them to respond to the climate that you're in. Um, or the resources that you have, right? So he had this great hill facing the sun. It's pretty steep to try to put like wood on. You know what I mean? And so he just like stacked it. And then yeah, it's just unbelievable in there. So yeah, I really think that there's a superpower to using this stuff in the right climate and in the right way. If I was able to bury the wood deeper in my hotter climate, would have been okay. Possibly. And it might have also helped to extend the season if it's at like a right Goldilocks level, right? It's not too high, not too low, but it keeps it a little bit warmer. It keeps it a little bit cooler. You know, those kind of things, I don't know. But like that's all worthwhile exploring with a thermometer and running experiments and checking this out and seeing what the actual life is and seeing if it's like bacterial dominant or fungal dominant or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's your first question. Let's go to your next one. When helping a homeowner set up a garden space and they had big dogs, they were doing their business in the area that is intended to have a vegetable garden. In your opinion, is that existing soil even unusable once the poop has been removed, like some sort of decomposition or remediation or something? No, I mean the dog's diet is pretty important, right? Um, always, right? We want to keep like things that would be passing on toxins or a deworming, right? If deworming medication, those kinds of things we don't want in the garden soil. Um, but yeah, if you removed it, I don't see that as being an issue. And then you could be like, you know, using EM, you know what I mean, to like process any of those issues because you probably didn't catch it all. I mean, I've got animals everywhere. You know what I mean? There's birds that are going to come down and like bite stuff, and then they're going to be doing manure there, and then there's manure everywhere. It's all over. So what we have to do is we have to spray. I do compost tea all the time because it's like I do have animals all over. There's wild animals all over. There's whatnot all around. There's stuff in the sky coming down in the rain, everything. And so I use compost teas regularly because they're going to help metabolize the toxins and they're also going to help protect things. And so using compost tea, using EM. So EM, remember, we're going to be able to ferment the nitrogenous compounds, the things that are going to burn us, the things that are going to be issues are tied up. And a lot of people, Quatamuk in the course says that I think he says that they're eaten. They eat they make them go away or something like that. I think someone said that. That's not what he means. And like he's just using that language. We talked about this at the Radical Mycology Convergence with Rascal. And realistically, there is no way they're actually doing something with it. And bacteria, as we know, if you listen to Todd Slemmy, he says that they lock it all up. What would he say they are? Oh man, it's not the black box, the vault, I think, or something like that. But they collect all the nutrients. They collect and embody all those things, and that's what fungi is doing. The carbon is their body. It's like, and yeah, as they decompose, it turns into long-term sequestration, and that's all part of it. But they're creating the soil structure. That is their body. You know what I mean? Mycorrhizal fungi. That's what they're doing. So yeah, that's what I would do. And I wouldn't feel like things are unsalvageable ever. Okay. I would really approach things from the idea that everything can be salvaged. because as you'll see, you know, some people's sites are worse than others. Some people's situations are worse than others, but every situation we can start improving. All right. If the soil can be salvaged, what processes, techniques would you use to make that existing soil safe for planting food crops again? And how long would that take? How long? Um, I would, I would do it now and then plant in the spring. But I would be doing things like strategically now. So I would be like spraying, then feeding, then spraying, so that the microbes that are there get the food they need to keep promoting. So you send out a first attack, okay? And then you cover that, you protect it, you clad it in, you insulate it, and then you hit it again with more life. And then and that's what I would do. And then I would let it molder with the EM, with the compost tea and all that life protected underneath that layer. Because if it's exposed, it's probably, depending on where we are, if it's cold where you're at, you might need to wait till later into early spring or something, but you got to cover it and lock those things in. But you first want to hit it while it's exposed, so it soaks in, and then you want to cover that and then hit that, so that's like infused and then slowly dripping in as it rains and as time goes. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. All right, I am now going to go check out the comments. We've reached that point in show. Oh, and the mirror going back in time. I'm going to pause this. Oh, all right, sweet. I have your chat here. And I still see you. Okay. All right, so here we go. All right, Happy New Year, everyone. I didn't even say that, did I? Oh, by the way, speaking of the new year, so it is done. It is ready. It is here. Lesson plans, standard-based permaculture education, the first ever standard-based permaculture education. This is here. It pairs with the purple book, pairs with the workbook, and this is it. This is it. This is and you you may recognize the projects that some of the students are talking about and working on. These are some of the plans, like a permaculture orchard, you pick CSA. So all these projects, all these advanced project proposals, lesson activities, lesson content, assessments, objectives, differentiations, like lesson plans, we got it all on here. I've got the standards in here. So this is what's happening in my world right now. And this is the last weekend to order them, and then you'll have to wait until it comes out on Amazon. But if you want a signed copy sent to you by me, then you want to pre-order it from me, and this is the time to do it, and it's going to be at a discount through me always. That's how we always do things. So yeah, that's there. That's for you all to check out. Happy New Year. Yeah, no, my dog doesn't shake like that. That was like so odd. It's like whenever you see me on this thing, you're like aware. And actually, that's why I stopped like barring the dogs from the room, because they'll scratch at the door now. I think what it is they realize that I'm talking to someone, and my family has been away for 2 weeks, and the animals are like, "You're talking to someone. I need to talk to them too. Where are they?" And they're just like looking for the people. So I think they're just feeling out of sorts and acting all funky and weird because you miss your boys and your mama. Yeah. So I do too. I miss my wife and my boys, absolutely. But they're coming back tomorrow, so it's all good. All right, sweet, awesome. People finally figure out how to use the chat. People are feeling good. Oh yeah, totally. So Peter Ellis says that like in some wet climates, people are using swales to redirect water. That's what I said when I said diversion drains, because they can be used as diversion drains that are either impervious or pervious. So they're permeable and allow the water to soak in. So that's what I was meaning by that. And that's what is discussed in the book in that section. So Peter, please go check out that section so you can know when to appropriately do these things, because there's so many options beyond just swales. They are a useful tool, but they're just one of many, many tools, and an infinite number of tools actually, if you just take grade into the possibilities. All right, looking for questions. Hey Stan. All right. Oh yeah, and so someone's saying that they've got a runoff. So runoff from cattle, absolutely, King Stropharia could work, but this is the issue, Peter. That I'm doing a microremediation video with Rascal Turbeville, who is a member, who's got his own business, and he's got a business partner, and they're amazing. But they have this business where they're growing mushrooms, they're testing unbelievable things, they're doing experimental things. And they did a test for E. coli in water and filtration. And after a few days, it stopped filtering it. Because as I've talked about several times here and there in different lives and formats, what has happening is it's actually myceliating around the pathway of water, which makes sense. But then it's myceliated and it's smooth walls and it's the path of water. So it's like a straw. It's like a mycelium straw that forms. And so disturbing these things can help, sure, totally. But I don't think that that can be the complete plan. I think we need to be having several different stopgaps where we're processing with different fungi. And this is where the experiment with Rascal we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing the oyster mushrooms that have been raised on motor oil. We're going to be doing reishi, and I think one other. But we're going to be doing these in succession, leading up to my pond, which is all runoff. And so the pond, which is road runoff, definitely has motor oil in it. And so we're going to be setting this up to at different stages, be filtering the water, and we're going to be testing the water throughout it and seeing what is going on and seeing how much it is cleaned, what is removed, what is not, and then how long it lasts. Because we don't we don't know, there's no metric, there's no one size fits all. It's all situational. It's temperature driven, it's water driven, it's light driven. So many things involved in this. What kind of substrate are you using? How dense was the substrate? The carbon chains inside the substrate. All these things actually play into it. So we're going to be diving into this because it is such a serious issue. I think EM is a miracle, because it's like, okay, well, we got the mycelium working, and then you hit it with the EM, maybe in you do a bokashi ball, and you've got the actually, he didn't really talk about how to do it, but he makes these unbelievable bokashi balls where he dries the outside of them and cures them, and the inside of them has the ceramic EM spheres, and he inoculates the waterways with those balls. And that's what I did for my pond. He gave it to me, and that's what I did. It's all right. And it turned the water from you couldn't see through it, as opaque, to clear. So this is real. It really makes a difference. It's incredible. They're facultative, and they really allow for the next succession to come in. They're really consumed by indigenous microorganisms, and it just improves the entire area. So I would say that using EM, using a silt trap, so having it come into the swale and maybe having it dip down into a silt trap, like mini little pond, where you have EM going in. Maybe it's bokashi balls that are infused with EM, those kind of things. And then it comes out and goes down your spillway or something like that. so that you're inoculating it and aerating it too at that time. It would be great before it goes, because realistically, we're going to find that we need to go further with our protocols and diversify our protocols. We can't just go to oyster mushrooms and call it a day. Yeah. So, and a lot of people like are using oyster mushrooms and with those long tubes of straw and stuff, but we got to do more than that. We natural solutions are not a perfect analog like snap out Lego piece for the way we've been doing things. So we have to, take more time and more consideration. So I would say that I would use EM in that situation. Yeah, and then you'd be fermenting those the nitrogenous compounds. All right, looking for more questions. All right. Okay. Yeah, so there's so like Stamets has done great work, but there is evidence and there are arguments and there's so many things about a lot of the things that he's done and said and whatnot. And all that means it's not that he's a liar, not that, what it means is that there's just more conditions, or it means that those people don't know what they're doing. But it usually means that there's just more conditions, which is fascinating and allows us to open a new door and allows us to honor those people and then make them our allies who are currently criticizing, right? It's really powerful when we can kind of take those and take it to that level. I really like the clarity of the work of Peter McCoy. I mean, I've studied, Stamets stuff. I find the clarity in Peter's stuff. I find the roadmap to home, to business, to large scale business is really clear with Peter. It's not clear, and there's not a real home scale other than very certain prescribed outlets in the Stamets world. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be a one size fits all. I don't think we need to expect there to be one guru. I think that we need to pull inspiration from them all. And I think Paul's whole thing, his whole ability to imagine a new way of doing things and also to reflect deeply on the observations he's made in the world around him are just incredibly empowering for everyone who hears them. And they also give us a window in what we can do, because most of the time they're things that we all can go, yeah, I do see that, or B, things that were like, holy cow, I can do that. You know what I mean? And so it could be things you could see or things you can do, and it's really empowering. So I love Stamets. I really prefer the academicness and the clarity and the accessibility of Peter's whole thing. But I nonetheless read and reference Paul Stamets and Trad Cotter. Let us not leave out the great Trad Cotter. Mushroom Mountain's a great business. They do a lot of education. I was just looking over the book that they give free when you order mushrooms from them. They give you this awesome book. It's illustrated, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Trad really cares. And I really love the fact that when Peter McCoy's book wasn't finished, Peter told me to read Trad's book in the meantime. It really goes to show you what Peter really cares about, is getting the information out there. And so I really like Trad's organic mushroom cultivation book and microremediation as well. But there's a whole other side to this, like fermentation side, that like Sandra Katz is also doing, which is really fun. So the fungi world's really interesting. But and then William Padilla Brown is also doing great work and showing like some unbelievable entrepreneurial flair. So and he's also a friend of mine. So I really Yeah, yeah. I really would always want to grab a lot of different opinions and ideas out there. All right, I want to know about terraces and benching and how to integrate them with access roads. How does one decide where to put in place a terrace or a bench? How long should it be, etc.? So, Emanuela, if you're looking for like exact numbers and you're setting up a site and you want to work with a contractor and be able to just communicate ideas really quickly, I highly recommend this book. And I mentioned it before, but let me just grab it here again. Whoop. Come on. Come on. There we go. All right. This is the best book on water harvesting earthworks. This book is so unbelievable. It's hundreds of pages, and it's really like equation heavy. So it's really, really, really precise. And so, like, for instance, you're asking about benching, where to put it. There's actual figures in here. Let me just pull them up. Here we go. So like terraces, do you see how it says 3 to 1, 18% slope or less? That's terraces without retaining walls. But 2 to 1, 25%, 25 degrees, 48.8% slope or less, terraces with retaining wall. And then, so it literally goes through all of these different options and gives you exactness. So you really can set this up exactly to what a contractor and landscaper would legally be doing. And it's also what's been proven, what's worked. And yeah, just so incredible. Diversion swales. Look at this. Man, I need to take some drawing classes so I can just start drawing some of this stuff. But this is, you know, the best book. It's like its own permaculture design like textbook, except it's just water harvesting. So yeah, no, I highly recommend this. This is just one of those classics that everyone should own. This is just unbelievable. So yeah. See, look at this. See, we got remediation for like exposed roots and stuff like that. So I highly recommend that. So Emanuela, that's what I recommend. The best resource if you're doing large scale and professional terraces, benching, those kinds of things, especially with access roads and those kinds of things. The author is Brad Lancaster, and he all his books are amazing. He just like Art Ludwig is really amazing. Yeah, this is the second volume in his Rainwater Harvesting for Drylands and Beyond series. And this is the Water Earthworks Harvesting one. So this is all earthworks. So it might be confusing online when you go online, look for it. Thanks, Landon. All right, sweet. I am going to go give those doggies a hug, Monique. They definitely need it. Right, Shadow? Yep. So thank you all for such good questions and being so active in the chat and making this community, you know, flowing these questions around, talking about these ideas. The reality is, and if we're not discussing these ideas, and like Peter just said, you know, no one can master all of this. That's why we have to go through this together. And that's why I'm a facilitator, you know what I mean? And that's why I connect us to experts in each one of these fields, you know, and try to find multiple kinds of experts in those fields, to be honest. I mean, I really want to get as many people as possible. And that's why this course, you know, is going to continuously expand. There's a lot of people that, you know, are working on videos right now for us. There's a lot of people that are really excited to be able to add to this course. And I know there are members of this course that are waiting for me to come visit to show up their garden to add to the course as well. So I'm really excited to keep continuously expand and learn more, just like I think you all are too. And it is an honor to be the lead facilitator here and to be part of this journey, inspiring, spreading enthusiasm. I love it. This is Mike Garcia, earlier asked what's my favorite part about teaching. I think this connection, this idea that we're in this together, we're part of this great body of knowledge that's continuously expanding. And it's exciting. We're right there at that edge of curiosity, exploring the future. And yeah, it's an honor to be there with you. All right, next week is week 8. I will see you soon. I'm Matt Powers. Grow abundantly, learn daily, and live regeneratively. Until next time.